Hi, my name's Phil. I like to talk about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss how James Cleverly, the Tory leadership contender who seems to have had the brightest conference this week, has decided to follow up his triumph by picking a fight with himself. It relates to the finalisation of an agreement on handing back the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. Cleverly is describing it as like a surrender, a number of Tories are, a shamelessly disgraceful thing to say for a range of reasons, but I think top of the list is probably that this is an agreement that was begun by, what was his name again? James Cleverly, when he was Foreign Secretary. But first, for daily political commentary, please click the subscribe button so you don't miss out. So yeah, news today, big news today is that the Chagos Islands will finally be handed back to the Mauritians. The entire episode, very shameful mark on the UK after we basically displaced a load of people on the island before Mauritian independence in the 1960s. Now, it was, of course, especially in the post-war world of agreeing that we shouldn't allow people to behave like, like the Nazis did, hideously illegal. Literally every country in the world has said so, with two exceptions: the USA, who wanted to carry on using the military base there, and the UK. So after multiple failed court cases, the UK government finally agreed that Chagos Islands should be returned to Mauritius, but with a deal which would allow the UK and US to lease one of the islands in order to continue using it as a military base. And with Starmer's insistence that under his government the UK would now be a country of law once more, he was hardly going to stick to a policy of ignoring international courts on the issue and maintaining what actually is arguably a crime against humanity, specifically the forced displacement of a population. But the way senior Tories are behaving today is, true to form, fairly despicable. The first I saw were reports of various senior Tories, including several, not all, but several of the leadership candidates, including James Cleverly, calling it a surrender in language to the same effect, and how dare Starmer give up strategically important territory. And I had a little double take, because I'm thinking to myself, hang on a minute, I thought the Conservatives were in favour of this. They actually got the ball rolling. I had to check to make sure I wasn't going mad. No, there it is, article from late 2022, nearly 2 years ago, with James Cleverly as Foreign Secretary agreeing that the UK should negotiate with Mauritius for the handover of the islands with a view to retaining access to the military base. And what do we have today? An announcement that the islands will be returning and we get to retain access to the military base. It's exactly what Cleverly, acting on behalf of the Tory government, said he wanted. Indeed, he would have got the ball rolling on these talks before being replaced by David Cameron a year later. All that Labour have done here is finalise the details on the deal that the Tories were already chasing after. Now they're attacking the very agreement they were working on. And that James Cleverly himself is leading the attacks just shows who they are, really. I mean, politics is it's a fairly unpleasant business at the best of times. Too often you get this sort of deeply tribal behaviour whereby you have to attack your opponents for things you wouldn't bother making a fuss about if it were anyone else. But the Tories are, not for the first time, attacking Labour for doing something they're also doing. Returning the islands, not only legally and morally required, but we've done it along exactly the same lines as the Tories wanted it doing. It's the same with their fake outrage about Labour's donations and gifts. How dare they accept gifts of clothes? Oh, well, you lot do it. How dare they accept tickets for concerts? Well, you do that as well. It's like the hypocrisy more than anything that gets me. I don't really mind it if someone attacks behaviour that I think, well, actually, there's nothing wrong with that behaviour. As long as they really believe it. We've all got our different points of view. But if they really believe it, they will expect the same behaviour of everyone, regardless of who or what they are. No wonder people don't like engaging in politics much. If you're not interested in joining a tribe, it must be exhausting and frustrating. Like in football, isn't it? A player gets fouled. One manager describes it as like the worst crime imaginable. He should be banned for life. And then the other one goes, oh, sorry, I wasn't looking. Didn't really see it. But in politics, the results are more important than a football game. Lives are at stake. And this attack by Cleverly, but other Tories as well, is particularly disgusting. Because there's a reason why the main opposition don't usually get too involved in individual foreign affairs issues. And the reason for that is to avoid undermining your own government's efforts abroad. But the Tories have shown that there is no issue serious enough for them to decide it's too important to use for cheap political points. It reminds me of Grant Shapps. So he was the Defence Secretary a few months ago, before the elections, not even an MP now. Oh dear, how sad, never mind. But within mere weeks of him losing that job, he was saying, oh, Labour should be authorising the use of storm shadows in Russian territory. Now, we sort of know that both the Conservatives and Labour are in favour of this policy. But you think to yourself, well, you were Defence Secretary a few weeks ago and you didn't do that. And you know the precise reason why you didn't do that. Now, Cleverly's sort of doing the opposite, I suppose, here, because where Shapps called on Labour to do something he wouldn't do, Cleverly is attacking them for doing what he actually did. And let's see if we can look into our crystal ball and see what comes next. Let me have a little guess here. Look, because there are some, natives of the Chagos Islands who are worried about how life will change with Mauritius being in control. There is still the potential for some real upset here. A lot of people to be displaced. The Conservative government back in 2022 agreed that any descendants of islanders forcibly evicted would be able to apply to become British citizens. So I'm guessing the Labour government are going to honour this agreement as well. An agreement by the Conservative government. But when Labour honour it, I'm going to go out on a limb here and I'm going to say, I think there's just a chance the same Tories who agreed to it will moan about it at that point. Oh, think of the immigration figures, they will say. Will nobody think of the immigration figures? It's a reminder that the Conservative Party is not even capable of reorganising itself into a credible government. Yesterday, James Cleverly appealed to his fellow party members that, can we be more normal? Can we stop going off on these culture wars? Can we just be more normal? Today, he's attacking Labour for something he started and was in favour of. I mean, all I would like to say to Conservative MPs at this point is just have a look here, right? I get you want to attack Labour. Of course you do. That's part of politics, right? But by attacking them for things you actually agree with, you're just giving the game away that you have no real objections to them, which could possibly work on the public. At which point, maybe decide that working out what you stand for in the interests of the public might be a better use of your time. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, you can join for memberships. Thanks for watching. And until next time, I'll see you later.